Thank you very much to our two speakers here for being here. Should I start by talking to you about your role as Madam Commissioner? Is that how you would like me to address you today?
It's not Miran, it's Meera, but well, any way you like.
Well, I want to go back in time to when you actually joined the academy, 1980s. The only woman in a batch of, 70 people. And there was a feeling of being unwanted, a feeling of not belonging. How did you get over that? And why the decision to actually get into the police force? Because you could have continued to go into the account and audit service, which is what you had already applied for.
Yeah, thanks, Shirin. Actually, I opted wrong in my first chance, and I opted for audits and accounts. Frankly, I should have gone in for police in the first chance itself because I was very enamored of my father's uniform. And it's true, being alone in the batch of 70 and the boys in my batch, imagine that young age, every day they would say that you go back to audits. And to share with the audience here, imagine a huge dining hall, 4 times this size, and a lone lady eating her dinner. And what would the boys play as the record? Those days we used to have those records.
The turntables.
Yeah.
What was the song that was playing?
Pag ghunguru bandh Meera nachi. Hey man, that's not fair. You laughed loudest.
What was your response to that?
No, I got that record removed from the academy.
Well done, well done. But from the academy to actually getting started, and you've had an illustrious career, you've taken on various roles and responsibilities. When did that feeling of belonging, of being part of the force, of being one with the force happen for you? When did you make that transition? How long did it take for that transition to happen?
So, see, a crime investigation per se was not difficult. It's problem solving. And it came quite naturally to me. I think it comes naturally to all women. But handling law and order issue was a bit difficult. I used to have lots of self-doubts. And now I share with girls that self-doubts is, very natural. And we should not get demotivated and then just withdraw. It's a journey. And the time, it's not a gender remark, but actually when I look back, and I have also discussed it in my book, there was an episode in Chembur in Mumbai where about 60 rounds were fired, 4 people killed, including, very unfortunate, a 16 years old girl. And I was there as DCP Zone 4, and DCP Zone 5 is 6 feet tall IPS officer. He did not report, and he said he could not find that particular spot where, imagine, 70 rounds had been fired. And I felt, oh my God, if I could withstand that round of firing and a very severe riot where the electricity had been cut off, it means I can do it. So, but this was 10 years down the line. So after 10 years, I felt comfortable in handling public agitation and public disorder, though crime investigation I found quite easy from day one.
The problem solving came easy, but it's actually the administrative part that was the more tough one to do.
To stand in front of a violent mob and to stand with confidence, not to have self-doubt, to order firing, that took long.
That took long. Anisha, I want to come to you as well. And, talking about self-doubt and talking about taking the road less traveled. I mean, you could have made a career for yourself professionally as a sports person. I mean, golf was your first love, and that is what you were attempting to do. Why then the decision to actually move off that track and to do something which in this country and in many parts of the world continues to be an issue that is stigmatized?
Firstly, thank you for having me here. I think just being able to share the stage with you, ma'am, is a great honor. I think, so there's 2 things to it. From a very young age, I was extremely passionate about sport. I played a lot of different sports, and to talk a little bit about the road less traveled in my school, I was the only girl playing cricket. I was the only girl in my batch and the first one to actually take physical education as a sport. So I think it's probably something that just has always come to me naturally, largely following things that I'm passionate about. So even with golf, I was extremely passionate about it and decided to make a career out of it. I think I reached a certain level that I felt that I had sort of maximized. And my experience as a caregiver when it came to mental illness really spurred my journey to where I am today. I realized that there's so much more to be done, so much more for me as an individual to learn about mental health, not just for myself, but to be able to care for people around me. And I think just being able to sort of go on that journey has been quite, has been great.
Yeah, I would imagine. And, when you talk about how being a caregiver spurred you to get into providing an ecosystem, providing a platform for people who are dealing with mental health issues. I was just telling Anisha before we started the program that in Mumbai, I was having a conversation with one of our speakers, and she said that perhaps it has been hugely underestimated, the contribution that Deepika Padukone has made by talking about the fact that she dealt with mental health challenges, mental health issues. That has perhaps not been given the recognition and the appreciation that it deserves. And Anisha, you've of course decided to take that forward with the foundation. But what was that period like for you? Because it's a cruel world, and the social media world is an even crueler world. So when you were going through this as a family, trying to shield your sister, but also then trying to channelize all of this energy to do something productive with it, what was that period like for you personally?
So I think it's important to understand at that time, mental illness wasn't talked about the way it is today. This was in, say, 2013, 2014, so almost 10 years back. And therefore, the stigma was much higher than it is today. I think for us, the focus was really to be able to find help and support. My mother was the one who actually identified, to the theme of Future Female Forward. I think if it wasn't for my mother who identified that there was something wrong, it could have been a very different story. So she was the one who identified that there's, help that's needed. And I think we were fortunate enough to have access to professional help, which a lot of people don't have access to. And that's where that journey happened of seeking help and support. But for all of us as a family, and for me in particular, I think the realization that you think you know enough about mental health unless it actually either hits you or someone around you. I think that realization was key and critical to be able to read up a little bit more, to speak to the mental health professionals and understand what the role of a caregiver should be or can be like. So I think I'm definitely in a much better place to be a caregiver. Even to a lot of my friends, I still get a lot of people who reach out to me on a regular basis saying, I need help, I need support, what should I do? And of course, with the work that we're doing, it's easier to, suggest what can be done.
Yeah, and I would imagine that there is, while it has opened many doors, a lot more needs to be done, a lot of distance needs to be covered. Of course, in the beginning has been made. But Madam Commissioner, let me come back to you now to talk about your own journey, as well as talk about the challenges that we face today as a country, especially when we talk about our legal system, when we talk about our police system as well. I don't know how many of you know this, but she actually had a non-bailable warrant out against her, and it took her 13 years to actually get that dropped and get her name cleared. I mean, this is a problem that so many, millions and millions of people in this country go through. You personally dealt with it. What's the way forward?
Way forward, I feel, is all of us as citizens to be more aware and to build pressure. Two things which are literally eating away the roots of our country. One, corruption. And second is the trials being so late that as a citizen, we have stopped respecting law and we are taking things for granted. We were discussing this Pune case where a family allows a underage child to take the car. Then you have a juvenile justice board which says that write an essay and do some internship. Then you have a politician who would probably never visit a police station, but he does so at the middle of the night to support not the victims, but to support the accused. Then you have a medical profession. So this kind of corruption, and also no fear, because family feels I have written for Indian Express, and I have quoted the 2002 case where Salman Khan is the accused and he gets acquitted in 2015. I am telling you, try any case after 10 years. Witnesses will not either come forward, or they would many a times even be purchased, or they won't remember how exactly the event took place. Therefore, corruption and this delayed trial, I feel, we have to build pressure, and nobody better than all of us in the audience to talk about it, to write about it, to pressurize our own local public representatives.
But did you give up hope through the course of that 13-year wait?
I did not, but my father used to get very disturbed. I shared it with him thinking he's a policeman, but forgetting that he's a father first and a police officer later. Every time I would visit Chandigarh, he would say, "Beta, us case da ki hoya?" So our families suffer, as police officers when we are in the field.
Again, one of the things that I really have to say that it was something that when I saw that you had actually filed, you were one of the petitioners in the matter of Bilkis Banu when they were given the remission, and you challenged that, and finally the Supreme Court overturned that. You were going up against the state. What gave you the courage to do that?
I felt to keep quiet would be criminal. Imagine gang rape, 14 people murdered, mass murder, and the victim's own 3-year-old daughter is murdered in front of her. And the country keeps quiet. And I must give credit to Professor Chokar and Madhu Bahadri madam. They brought it up, and we engaged Vrinda Grover, another excellent lawyer, her.
Yeah.
And then we thought, we really thought it's criminal if we keep quiet. And mind you, I was sharing with you, I didn't tell my family that I'm filing this PIL because I had retired. And many a times Vrinda's juniors would say, "Madam, court mein aa jao, ek affidavit sign karna hai. Ma'am, court mein aa jao, ek application sign karni hai." One day my brother says, "Meera has a secret boyfriend." And I did not share, because unko lagta hai ki post retirement at least chup baitho. But mujhe lagta hai chup baithna guna hai.
Absolutely. Very truer words were not spoken.